All right, good evening. So, as you may all know, that Josh is out tonight visiting his father. So, I will be filling in his place for tonight's class. So, it's going to be a little bit different than we normally do on Wednesdays, where we go and discuss living holy lives. Tonight, it's going to be a little bit different. And the reason why we're doing this is early this year we have some emails that we received. The only people that I know who received the email are the deacons and the elders. And then we went, we talked about it, and then we sent out an email saying, don't follow what's in that email. That's not true. So you don't have to do anything with that. And then earlier this month, a similar thing happened, and my initial thought was, let's go ahead and have a slide about it to remind our church members not to fall into that scam. But as you can see, when an opportunity like this presented itself, they um, they kind of look at me to do this. So for those who are not aware, I'm not financial, expert or advisor or nor expert in cybersecurity, but I do work in the IT industry, and I always come across scams through smartphone, emails, even phone calls, and I have encountered them all when I pick up phone and talk to people, and so I'm quite familiar with some of this. I've known people who almost fall into the scam. And I'm gonna try not to go into technical details, and of course, it's not gonna be an exhaustive list. And I want to give high overview just to show that it's there, that scams do exist. And Josh, you know, um, forward me a sermon. It was written by a brother David Owens from Liverpool, New York, and I reached out to him and asked him about if I can go ahead and use his sermon as a framework for the class for tonight. And then he left me a message, and he said, "Yeah, go ahead, go whatever you need to do." So I'll be pulling from his message, and of course, I'm adding like new data as um, it's been entered this year or late last year. So it's basically, the scam. So everybody here, I would assume, is familiar what a scam is, right? It's not a foreign thing that we haven't encountered before. And I'm not going to ask who encountered it or knows somebody, but when looking into the definition, and here's what uh, the internet gave me. And most of the data that I have came from FTC. So that's the Federal Trade Commission. So it's a website that gets the reports for people who were defrauded, who fell into the scam. That's where they report so that we have all the data of how many it is per year. So the high overview or definition is a scam is a dishonest scheme or fraudulent activity designed to trick people into giving away their money, personal information, or something else of value. It could be anything that that person um, values. And then scammers often use deception, manipulation, or false promises to exploit their victims. So if you look at the definition, and then you look at what happened in Genesis, you might see some similar framework on how sin entered the world, right? You can see some similar framework that can be found in Genesis 3, right? So you see lying, you see deceiving people or Eve. Um, it's the biggest lie ever, right? And we all know about that. And even though it happened like a long time ago, it's still happening today, whether the method of operation changed. Now we have the internet, all the information that's coming to us, and all the tools that are available to us might be different, but the framework is still there. There are still people who are going to be um, uh, schemers, liars. There'll be people who will deceive other people for their own benefit, for their own gain. So, how big actually is the problem? So here is just a number. So, 2022, we have like 5.3 million reports that's been submitted, and those are just the ones that were submitted. So we don't know if how many didn't do anything. They just, oh yeah, that's fine, it's a loss, and just go with it, right? And then that is equivalent to 8.9 billion losses. So that's a big deal, and it's a lucrative business for the schemers. And then 2023, 5.5 million, equivalent to 10.4. And then you will see the trend, like 2024, it's 6.5. It's going up every year. And hopefully that we will be able to recognize and avoid being one of the statistics that we have on there. And then last year, we have the 2024, the top three scams. Those are the credit bureaus and information furnishers. So those are who check your credit history and things like that. Identity theft is a big one, and imposter scams. Those are trying to prevent or pretending who they are, right? So they're pretending that they're either your friend or your loved one or a government entity. They're trying to get information. And if you think about it, you might say, well, I'm this old or I'm this young. I'm not going to be affected with this, right? So it's going to be, it's not going to happen to me. But when I looked into it, so this is the interesting um, thing here. If you look at the age bracket, it's almost like everybody is affected, from 19 and under to 80 plus and above. So it's not it's a small group of people who are being affected. It's everybody. And then you look at the trend, like the median losses. So this is basically the average amount people lose, right? So if you go to the 19 and under, like $189 per person. And then if you look at the 80 plus, it's like 1650. So that's a big jump. So there's a fewer people in the 80 plus that are being targeted, but they get more. So that's why it's lucrative. And then look at the method of communication. It's different. There's some ages in there that are similar in the method of communication and the payment system. If you look at that, interestingly, the younger ones, payment app or a service. So they're the ones who are growing up. Um, they're familiar with online banking, payment using their smartphone, tag, all that stuff, and social media. So these are the generations that are actually growing up trusting social media, because when they grow up, that's what they always see. It's It's almost like it's always been there, so it I can trust social media. And as the age get older, so you can see you have the credit card, but still you have the social media showing up there for 40 years old and above. And then for the senior citizens, like 70 and above, they use phone calls. It's it could be that they're not using smartphones a whole lot anymore, and they're targeting um, uh, having scam phone calls, and it's easier to employ a scare tactic. Now, the top method of communication is they're using different methods to communicate with different people. So this is just one of them. It could be a text, it could be an email, but what they normally use is social media. So it's a big factor when you are being targeted. So this is just some of the scams that are out there. First, credit bureaus and information furnishers. And then you have the identity theft. So these are let me go back. So these are the first one. Credit bureaus is if you have a bad credit report, they're the ones who's going to go ahead and promise you they're going to go ahead and fix your credit history. They're going to go ahead and increase your points so you can go ahead and be able to get some loans. So they're the ones who are going to be saying, you know what, we're going to go ahead and erase your bad information and then replace it with good ones. And normally, what they do is they just go ahead and ask for an upfront payment. And they will ask, you know what, yeah, we can do that. We just have to pay this processing fee or whatever they call it, and then they're just going to go ahead and um, get your information. Now, of course, this is just a few of the scams that are out there, but there's like a whole lot more on here. The next one is identity theft. So these are, they steal personal information, and a lot of times they combined it with real information and fabricated information. And if you will look at it, maybe you'll ask, why? How do they get all this information? Right? It's and I looked how they try to get the information and merge it together. Is they use algorithm, they use AI, they use search. You're online. That's why social media is it's a big factor in it. Contributing factor is that they look at your post. They have if they have access to your um, profile, your information, who you talk with, and things like that. So they will have all that information, and of course they combine it with public information. Like they can get stuff from DMV or other publicly released information. So if you don't know your neighbor, you can just go ahead and go check online and then look at the GSIS website for your county, and you'll be able to know their names or who at least the property is named after. So you can get a lot of information. But with AI, all they have to do is type in some prompts and they will get some information and they can go ahead and um, put it together. And the way that they do it is not manual, so they use software to get information. And the one that I that we normally receive, that we have experienced, as church, is the imposter scams. So that's when we get emails saying, "Hey, this is so and so. I'm trying to get a something, and it's like discreet that no phone calls." And I'll give you information example of it that I received, and I want to show you what it looks like. so that when you see it, you will see some red flags and say, you know what, that's kind of like sketchy, and then you just go ahead and delete that. So the imposter scams, like business imposters pretending to be a legitimate recruiter, for example, or it could be a text saying, you know what, you have a parcel it's in our warehouse. We just need to go ahead and get in touch with you so we can release it, and you will provide information, personal information to them, and that's what they seek. And then now with the tax season, we will get emails or text from the IRS saying, hey, you owe the IRS, blah, blah, blah. And then we need you to go to, for example, Walmart, buy some gift cards so we can go ahead and use that as a payment for your taxes, things like that. So if you stop and look at what's happening, is that if you slow down, you will see that that's not right. IRS will not go ahead and ask me to go to Walmart or go to Target or to go somewhere else to buy a gift card so I can pay for my taxes, right? So, and they will say, no, you don't need to call anybody. Just go ahead and just don't hang up. We'll go ahead and process this, and then otherwise you'll go to jail. Now I'm gonna send IRS police officers and stuff like that. And I'm going to mention a story later on about what happened at work regarding that. Um, and it's only not limited to business, government, family. It could be a romance scam for online dating. They will build relationship with people, and then down the road they will go ahead. The monetary need will show up later on, saying, you know what, we've been talking for a while, and then I have a business investment, like a good one, that you can partake in. Or my mom is like going into the hospital, I would need some help, and if you could spare some change, and they're gonna go ahead and get some money from you, so that, and it will just leave the person heartbroken, um, and defrauded. So there's also, this is one of my favorite, is the tech support scams, which I always get from work. They will go, and then they will have a pop-up showing up on your computer, like antivirus. Say, you know what, you need to go ahead and update or renew your antivirus. Otherwise, all your information will be deleted, or you can't retrieve it anymore. And then they were going to go ahead and do all this stuff. And if you don't do it, you're going to go ahead, lose everything. And I have that a lot at work. And then people call me. One time I received a phone call saying, from Microsoft, saying, I don't think your licenses are up to date, and you just go ahead and check your computer, go enter this command, and then they want me to go to one of the report section of Windows, and say, type this in, and then you'll see all these errors and then all this stuff. You need to go ahead and do this. And a lot of times I just go ahead and play along with them, right? So I just go ahead and, okay, so what's the next thing I need to do? The longer I have it on the phone is the less people they'll be able to reach. So that's why. But I know what they're trying to do. So I know exactly what their scheme. That's why I was able to hold them longer on the phone until they finally figured it out, and then they would say, you know what, I'm just gonna go hang up. And sometimes they will get really mad. They will go ahead and say some bad words and things like that before they hang up. But I said, well, you know what, it's fine with me as long as they have like one less person to call. The next one is the online shopping thing. There's a lot of actual stores that are actually closing down. They're going to be in the news that, oh, this so and so Target, they're going to go ahead and close down. And then there will be similar websites, and I'll show you an example later on, that will have a similar looking website, but it's not really the website for, let's just say, Target. And they will have, 60% off, they will have 50% off, and they will have all this close up sale and things like that. All they're doing is trying to get your credit card information to go ahead, or, you know, worse, debit card information. If you don't use credit card, they want to get a hold of your banking information. So that's the worst thing that anybody can do. And then which, beg us, the question, I mean, will that really happen to me? That's the always one of the mindset that a lot of people, sometimes, us, will say, you know what, that's just not going to happen to me. Like, for example, for me, I'm in the IT field. It's not going to happen to me, right? Wrong, because it did happen. So, but that's just another story. But it could happen to anybody. And how close is it? You might think, I mean, it happened to me. It happened to my wife. It happened to a lot of people that I know. If we have a mindset that, it's not going to happen to me, then we are going to be susceptible to this scheme, because we're thinking that, you know what, I'm at this age that it's not going to happen to me. Well, I looked up online and then look at, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but that's for Virginia last year. So we have like 57,000 fraud reports last year. Now, that is just 2024. And this is just for Virginia. And the losses is 293 million losses. And for median average per person is about 450. So let's be careful to think that it's not going to happen in Virginia, or it's not going to happen in Hopewell, or it's not going to happen in my home. It can happen to anybody. It might be happening to somebody that you know. That's why we're doing this class, is that to not to scare everybody, but to let everybody know that it is happening, that it exists out there. And we should heed Paul's warning, right? In 1 Corinthians 10:12, so if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. So this is thinking that it's not going to happen to me, even though it's happening around us. It's not going to happen to me. But then if you trust in yourself and not in the Lord, you will fall into that scheme. Now we talked about the different type of schemes. So in general, there is some identifying marks. There's some red flags that we can look out for, that it's present, or to some of them, and they overlap. Um, the first thing is this one: too good to be true. We always say that, it's not going to happen to me. If you see a good deal and if it seems that it's too good to be true, maybe it is too good to be true, right? So we have to be careful about the sales, 60%, 80%, 90% off, marked down, and things like that. Or a business proposal. There's zero risk if you invest in this company. You're not going to go ahead and lose your money. It never happens, right? So we have to be wary of that. And they also employ these pressure tactics, right? So they're going to go ahead and ask you to do something right then and there. So when you receive an email or a text, normally it would say, you have to do it now or else. You have to take action now or else. So they're pressuring you to go ahead and make a decision, even though you're not fully aware of what's going on. And that's what they want. They want to go ahead and They go in there and pressure you to make a decision that you don't know all the factors involving that. The um, um, the next thing to look out for is for unsolicited offers. If you're not looking for it and you get some, just be wary of it. Don't fall for it. If you're not selling your home, or if you're not looking for a job and somebody offers you, you know what, we're going to go ahead and buy your home for this and this. um, there's legitimate companies out there, but be wary if you are not actually selling your home, or if somebody's reaching out to you about something. So we have to be mindful of that. Um, and of course, there's a lack of transparency. So when you read some of these emails or texts, that they're not going to tell you a whole lot. And then the other one is confusing. They use jargon, industry buzzwords that you it's just a word that you don't even know. Um, so just be wary of that. Um, and they also sometimes, high fees or charges when they're trying to clean up your credit history. They might say, we're just gonna clean it up for you, or give you a boost for that points and things like that, and they're gonna go ahead and help you out. Or if you have a RS tax debt, that some of them, there's legitimate companies that are genuinely trying to help you out, but there are also some of them are taking advantage of that. They would say, "We'll just go ahead and help you with your taxes, but you have to pay a processing fee or similar to that." And also, they have, you know, um, pressure to keep it a secret. So they would normally say, no, it's just between you and me. We're going to go ahead and do this thing as a surprise for so and so. So you don't need to call anybody. Just go ahead and reply to this email or call me on this number, or things of that nature, that they don't want you to seek out and help, or seek help from other folks. And like I said, the last one is similar to lack of transparency, where they use words, language that's hard to understand. So those are just a few of them. There's a whole lot of them out there, but I just don't want to um, go down deep. Um, now, so what happens when you get one, right? So how would you know, for example, if I'm sending out the email to you, and we use different type of applications here at Cawson Street. So we use Breeze, we use emails, we use text reminders, we use those tools that can help us get our brain straight, so to speak, so that we won't forget if we're going to lead some songs, or we won't forget if we're going to lead the prayers and things like that. So how would we know that the emails that you receive, or the text that we receive, is not a scam, right? So there's a few of them. So if you received an email that's especially that you don't know, or it's not from anybody that you know, or it's not from um, uh, our church secretary. So we have our email that we use, the AOL.com. If it's not coming from that, or if it's not coming from any of the church leaders or anybody that you know, well, best practices, anyways, is you don't follow the link to that email, or you don't open up an attachment. It's just best practice, unless it's your friend, or that you're expecting an email with such an attachment. Then you can do so. And also, the church leadership here at Cawson, we will not ask for financial information through email or text, because we uh, some of them we already have, and we're not gonna go and ask you through email or certain method. So we will talk to you in person if we need to, um, but we're not going to be asking for financial information or even your username, password, any type of credentials for your emails, personal emails, and such and such. We're not going to go ask and solicit those type of information. So if you get an email from me asking you what's your code to go into the building, if you have one, I'm not going to ask for those because I know all of those. If you get an email from me asking for your password for your email, personal email, even though it's for me, don't answer it. Don't just delete that email because we're not going to be asking those type of information. And if you're not sure, if you got an email and you're not sure, for example, you got an email from Josh, please call Josh, or please call the person that you think sent you the email. So our phone numbers, they're published on our weekly visitors. So if you got an email or a text that you don't know that's saying, "Hey, this is Melvin, and I need help in so and so," you have our information. We have the church directory. So those things are there for our use. So just call and then for confirmation. Um, and those are just a few of the things that personally here that's more aligned for Cawson Street, right? But if you are on your own and then doing some shopping, the thing that you really want to check is the web address that you're actually on that correct one. Are you really on the Best Buy website? Are you going to be on the Home Depot website or what else is there? A Target website or Amazon websites. Uh, uh, Especially if you got an promotional email saying, "Hey, this is on sale from Amazon." Don't click that link. Just just go to Amazon the normal way that you do, and then go around it, not within that email. And that's a good practice when you get an email from anywhere. For example, if you're looking for a job and say, "Oh, you know what? I am a recruiter for DuPont or Amazon or Microsoft, and we want to get an interview from you, right? Or with you." Um, the best way is to contact them through different ways, like what number on the website, and then go through there and confirm that is there really a position. Because what's going to happen if you don't do it is that they might do some fake interviews. Right now, it's a lot of the first and second interviews, they're being done either over the phone or through a Zoom meeting or just a phone call for a second interview. And they can go ahead and say, "You know what, we're just going to do the onboarding process and we need you to fill up this HR information." And guess what's on the HR form? They want they want your banking information because they want to do a uh, direct deposit. So they will have your full name, your routing, your social security. Okay, so I guess that's gonna be we're gonna go faster, but you get the idea. So here's if you can read it. So here's the example of the fake email that I got from a person pretending to be Josh. So it says there, let me see, "Do you have a moment? I have a request I want to handle discreetly. I am going for a meeting now. No calls, just reply by email." Now, if you know Josh, it's not Josh at all, right? so, so if you receive an email from Josh, it's not going to be like that. Now, when I looked at this, I said, "Well, let me look at the reply to address and see if that's really Josh's email. And it's not. It's a church office dot online at whatever Gmail. So and I know that's not Josh's email. And there's a few things that I noticed that are not right, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on there. It's wrong email, and Josh will not do anything that's discreet. Normally it will be with multiple elders if he's communication with it with different people. So he will not send you, or neither should all the church leaders, the elders, the deacons will ask you to do something in secret. And that is not a good practice. If we are doing it, I hope not, but I'm not. And there's a typo in the address of the church. I mean, it's 310 and third, but we put the avenue beside the third and not before Hopewell. So there's some typo in there for the signature. That's why I said, well, I know that it's not Josh. And then guess what I did? I grabbed my phone, called Josh, and asked Josh, "Hey, Josh, did you send me an email about this thing?" And it's not even aware of it. And I said, "Well, I got one. I just want to let you know that I have one." Then I think some of the elders received a similar email as well, and that's the reason why Josh sent out an email to everybody just to make sure that if anybody received a similar email like this, that they would know that it's not true and it's a scam. And here's an example of a Best Buy thing. When I looked at this, I saw a couple of things that stood out. Right, so it's if you're an iPhone user, you would know that an iPhone 15 Pro Max 1 terabyte is not going to be $38, right? Regardless if it's open box or whatever it is, it's not going to be less than $40. And then, of course, the web address is not Best Buy. It's something, Best Buy dot wholesale or .com or Best Buy dot warehouse sale, some similar to that nature. That's why I kind of knew that, okay, this is a scam. So I've shown you some of the similar things, but I want to go deeper into how do we actually um, protect our hearts from this, because sending you information about this will just go just so far. Um, uh, what it goes down to when you look at it is these three things foster or helps us to fall into those scam. You know, those these three things makes us susceptible for those type of scams. So there's just fear, greed, or discontentment, and arrogance or pride. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'll go from there. So fear, a bit faster. So fear is, it could be artificial, it could be real. So what do I mean by that? So if you've lost your job and you're it's hard for you to make your ends meet, right? And you're, of course, you're going to be fearful that you might lose your house, you might lose your spouse, you might lose something else, right? And that's real fear. And also there's a fear that's artificially generated. Okay, so just bear with me with this. Um, that's artificially generated by the scammer. So just be aware of that. And then if our hearts are not content with what God gave us, then we're going to be susceptible for scheme like a quick getting rich quickly schemes, whatever it is, a scam that they're out there. And arrogance and pride will also um, uh, will be our heart will be susceptible to such schemes, because it will prevent us to communicate with church. And that's why we have our family, that's why we have the church. That's why we have, church family here. Is you if you feel like you receive something, uh, pride will not let you seek help that you need, whether if you have been scammed already or in the process of being scammed. Just to close it off, is that you know there's a lot more things that's far more important than money, right? So the thing that we should be wary about is people or scammers that will pull us away from God, right? So there's, money, it can be replaced, but our soul, once we get pulled away from God, that's the more pressing and more important thing that we should protect. So if and that's all I have. So if you have any questions, yes, sir. Okay.
I know the bell's already rung, okay? I want to get up here with the microphone so everybody can hear me. Everybody can hear me. Dennis is exactly right. Anybody can be taken by these things because I just got taken about 3 weeks ago. I spent 46 years in the financial field, and I just got taken by one of these scans about 3 weeks ago. So I need to show some humility and admit that, okay? And so maybe this will protect my brethren who are here tonight from being scammed by this. About 3 weeks ago, I got an email on my cell phone from someone telling me that Trilby and I owed $6 and some change on an Easy Pass account. Well, I never had an Easy Pass account, but Trilby did. So I thought that could be legitimate from some time ago, that maybe we forgot to pay an Easy Pass bill. And so I opened it up, and believe me, 46 years in the financial industry, I've seen many, many of these scams, okay? And then personally, I've seen many. So I opened it up, and boy, was it well done. It had the VDOT logo exactly as the VDOT logo looks. It looked exactly like VDOT, okay? Now, again, I hate to admit these things to you, okay? Really do. But I want to do it so that you don't get caught by this one, because it's out there. And let me tell you how I know it's out there even more than the story I'm telling you right now. So I opened it up, okay? And foolishly, I went on and gave them my debit card number or whatever to pay this $6 and some change, okay? I wasn't worried about the $6 and some change or whatever. So I did that, okay? So 3 days later, I get a call from my bank, and it tells me there's some kind of unusual activity on my bank account. So I go to my account or whatever, and before I can stop it, it cost me $1,400, all right? It was a scam, okay? It looked as professional could be, and I'm not criticizing Dennis's presentation. It had nothing to do with fear, greed, discontentment, arrogance, or pride. They just got me, okay? All right? Now, so I want you to be aware of that. That scam is out there, and be careful. If you get anything that looks like VDOT selling you on your Easy Pass account or something like that, don't fall for it. The reason I know is I can't believe they did this. After I stopped it, although I don't know that I'm going to get my $1,400 back, I have some doubts of whether I will or not, but I'll survive that. Trilby, I'll survive that. Um, the um, um, the just 2 days ago, I get the same scam. So, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So they're not going to fool me this time. So twice, once they got me, once they didn't, thankfully. I should have wised up, shouldn't have happened the first time. I just want to tell you, be aware that that specific one is out there. You get something that says you owe X dollars to VDOT from an Easy Pass account or something like that, do not open that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Rolf. You're dismissed. Thank you.